Habari Entertainment proudly presents Habari Live.
Habari Live.
From Phoenix, Arizona. And you're listening to the Habari Live podcast, the show that brings you news, sports, and entertainment for people who love HabariEntertainment.com. Here are your hosts, Iesha, Jimmy, and Damon Ellison. Let's get it going. We are all the way live.
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Habari Live, your go-to podcast for the Post of Phoenix and beyond. Like always, we're all the way live in Paradise Valley in Phoenix, Arizona. I am Damon Ellison and my co-host,
Iesha.
We will be your guide through the exciting stories and everyday happenings in our vibrant community, your weekly dose of inspiration, innovation, and insightful conversations from the heart of our city. So let's get it going today. Yeah. Crazy week, another crazy week in the news with our the World Cup being a big part of what everyone is going through. America is doing decent. I think it has a game. They have a game against why can't I think of who we're playing next? We lost to them before. I know it was it Belgium? I don't know. Let me make sure. Let me see. But yeah, next game. Let's see here. Yeah, I was right. Belgium. Never doubt myself. Anyway, yeah. So Belgium will be the next game. You know, it'll be tough. But America has won more games than they've won in these series in a long time. So a lot of people are happy about that. We see a lot of people coming in from different countries, making the American experience. I saw one guy going and buying guns and just doing everything that they think Americans do. You know, getting a gun is the first. That's always the first thing. Well, I don't know if he was able to buy one, but I know he was able to try them out and look at them and everything, check them out. But you know, that's what Americans about. A lot of people talking about ranch dressing and different things in that nature, and you know, having a good time, man. And happy 4th of July also. 4th of July. A lot of people are not as happy this year with the 4th of July because our president loves to make everything about himself, and you know, we have the 250 celebration that's supposed to be going on, and a lot of people backed out of performing at the show for Trump, and you know, his his parade, or what was it? A parade? Was it a carnival or something? Festival. It was another flopped terribly. No one showed up to his festival. So just Trump just losing on all scales like always. And it's just, you know, everyone's backed out of his 250 party because instead of him making it bipartisan, getting everyone from every side, you know, and bringing everyone together, he has to be divisive as always. And just, you know, typical Trump, you know, just do what he do to make sure that everyone knows that he only cares about a particular group in a particular section of America.
Right.
I trust you are aware. I wanted to know what is trending within the American youth and what do Americans think with regards to the war in Iran. Well, most American citizens are 100% against what's going on in Iran. We look like clowns on the global scale. Everyone's laughing at us. And, you know, I think of the song, "The Whole World's Laughing at Us." That's what I think of, silly fools. That's the song I think of when I think of that war. It's everyone's laughing. And Trump looks so goofy. And the decisions that they are making, the people that they are putting forth to make to try to start negotiations, this is the reason why we're failing. And it looks pretty bad. And it's something that a lot of people are laughing about. And you can't do anything but put a paper bag over your head and write a sad face on it because It's embarrassing, man. And he got us into this thinking that this would change the subject from the Epstein files, and it didn't go the route that he wanted it to go. So this is what happens.
Right.
But let's get straight to the top stories, before we can get into our top story today, which is discussing socialism, the new wave of democratic socialists that's running through the liberal party right now. And what do you guys think about it? What do you think about the new Democrats that are replacing some of the old um, establishment party of Democrat, and the more centralist, and they're going to a more left ideals. So we're going to talk about that, and we are going to go a little bit into the crime, but that's going to be our main story. But let's go into the top stories of the week with Iesha. Let's get it going.
For sure, for sure, for sure. What's going on? This week we got a lot of top stories that we're following. So here, let's go ahead and get into it. Colleges and universities across the country are making difficult decisions as they are now facing declining enrollment, budget shortfalls, and changing student interests. Several major institutions, including Syracuse University and Iowa State University, are eliminating or consolidating dozens of their academic programs, and public colleges across Indiana are also reducing some of the courses that they are offering. And many of the cuts are hitting humanitarians and arts departments the hardest, with administrators arguing that the resources needed to redirect toward programs with stronger enrollment and enforcement demands, such as healthcare, engineering, and technology courses. And critics are saying that these decisions could limit students' access to well rounded education and weaken disciplines for fostering critical thinking. What do
Hmm.
you think?
Yeah, what's up, Ralph? We appreciate you watching, man. Happy 4th of July, and if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Um, uh, we Everything we do seems like now where everything is about making sure that we're cutting funds from education,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like education is always the one that takes the hits.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's teaching kids how to be better and how to be more prepared for the future is what they are getting rid of, and it's really starting to get annoying. And you want the kids to have a future, man. You want the kids to be ready for the society that they are getting prepared for, and you want them to be prepared for that world.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing a disservice to a lot of the kids, man, and it's sad to see these kids falling behind. Education, we talked about, and more people are reading at a sixth grade level,
Mm-hmm.
and more of Americans can't read.
I think
So
the study showed it was 50% of Americans read at a sixth grade level.
insane. So it's getting bad. This war on education that the right is waging is definitely hurting us, and this is the reason why we have the president that we have. That's why we have the idiocracy that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason why we have Bronno, and it has electrolytes, electrolytes. My bad. That's what we have today. It's just a clown fest. And this is why we have this, because movies has reflected real life, and people are less and less educated.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what they want. They want people ignorant. They want people not be able to decipher between the real and the truth. And we see this all the time, man. We have to fight with people with just modern history, just things that just happened yesterday. We still have to fight with people because people are so uneducated. We have to fight about who voted for Democrat and who voted for Republican. Oh, the parties didn't switch. Like this, the dumb stuff that we have to look at. We see everyone, if you know anything about history, how the South used to be blue. Now the South is red.
Mm-hmm.
But they will argue and argue. There was no switch. And it's just goofy, uneducated mess that we have to deal with. And that's why people are okay with having a president that speaks at a 6th grade level.
Right.
They're okay with that. They're okay with having a president who can't form normal sentences. And this is the reason why we have the people that we have in charge. It's a mess, and the education system is getting butchered, and we're all paying the price.
Mm-hmm. You're right. A Phoenix man is suing the Phoenix Police Department, claiming that he was falsely arrested after investigators relied solely on facial recognition technology during a cold case investigation. According to the lawsuit, the man says that he spent time in jail despite being innocent and argues that the flawed recognition software contributed to his arrest. The case is expected to reignite debates again over law enforcement agencies using artificial intelligence and facial recognition in order to solve their cases, especially when it leads to criminal charges for someone who's basically innocent because this technology is falsely identifying them.
Yeah.
I mean, as I was reading about this case, I believe it was a potential of 250 people that it could have been as the suspect for this particular case, and Phoenix PD just said that it was this person and just arrested them and put them in jail. I mean, it's not the first time that we've heard of someone spending time in jail being falsely arrested for artificial intelligence facial recognition.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how they are able to put these applications in place right now legally without them going through strenuous training to see the faults. It's crazy that we're using this and just making it live. I don't understand. Is there anyone that's overseeing how this application is being rolled out? What are the flaws of this application?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't know these things, how are we bringing this application live?
What is the percentage of accurate
Right.
identification versus
them,
misidentifications?
Misidentifying people. What are the chances of them getting someone who didn't do the? And in one case, we saw that the guy wasn't even in the state, and the police officers were able to prove that this guy wasn't even in the state when the crime happened, and they still left him in jail. So it's just like they're just like, well, the software did its job, and we just don't have to do anything else to prove our case. It just seems like it's just lazy policing that's happening, and I just don't like it. I don't like the direction this is going, where people are just being arrested because it's like, well, this application said that you're the one that did it, and just like we see in these with the Tom Cruise movie back in the day, where he had the two robots that was telling people they were going to commit a crime before they even did it, and they would go and arrest the person and pick them up and put them in jail before the crime even happened. I can't remember the name of that movie, but it was really good. Was it Minority Report? Yeah, man, it was a good movie. And they arresting people. The person haven't even done the crime with the robot. Like, yeah, well, the chances are that you were going to do this, so we think we're going to go ahead. Like, this is pretty much what's going on. And
Right.
them listening to them and putting people away without doing their due diligence is insane.
Right.
It's right. Exactly. What about due process? Like, do your job. Do what you need to do first before you arrest someone. You can't just arrest someone because of application. We all know, we've had computers for 30, 40 years. We know that these things make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
They make mistakes. They are not perfect,
They're
regardless
programmed by humans, so
even if they aren't programmed by humans, they still make mistakes. It just happens. Things happen. Machines do not always work perfectly. So for them to lock someone up without doing like my guy Ralph says, due process, like they're supposed to, what are we doing here?
mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that this guy sues and he owns these companies, because this it's getting ridiculous, man. You're gonna lose your job, your house, everything, because these people just want to lock people up, man. Thank you. I think what's that, Jai Rango? Yeah, Minority Report. You right. Let's
Yeah.
go to the next one.
Moving on, a former U.S. Olympian is now facing felony charges following an incident involving the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Authorities are alleging that the individual caused significant damage at the historic site, leading prosecutors to file for felony charges. The reflecting pool is one of the nation's most recognizable landmarks, and it's highly visited throughout the day. And the Olympian said that, he just wanted to stop by and see what all the fuss was that was going on around it, since he did live in the area, and he just wanted to see, the pool for himself. But he ended up getting arrested and is now facing felony charges.
The fact that they're rolling around giving people felony charges, messing with the paint that came off of the floor of the Lincoln Memorial, it's a sad day. Then they're also, these are the same people that let go of people that tried to take over and commit an insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And we're openly letting those guys go. They even tried to give them a payout. And then you're giving felonies to people that grab paint that's floating in the water. Like this dude, man. And then they're always talking about somebody else being communist and all this crap. This guy is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that hurts his ego, he lashes out on the people of America. And it's crazy to see other people okay with American citizens being treated like this.
Right.
People going to jail because your paint that you put on some water bubbled up, and you're trying to charge
and
them
peeled off
with felonies for touching it. Felonies. You're destroying people's lives. This guy's life, he's going to lose his job. He might lose his home. You can't pay for things when you're in jail. And if you haven't done anything but touch some paint, I cannot believe that this guy, but this is what we have as a president. A very heartless person who could care what's about somebody else's life.
Right.
And it's sad, man. It's sad, but this is what we're going through. Hopefully this case gets dropped and this guy can go home and be with his family. But
Yes.
This is what we're living in, man. We have a guy who's just a dictator. He's putting people in jail for the dumbest things.
Mm-hmm.
He's going after protesters, putting them in jail. Like, dog, this is crazy. It's crazy. This is not America, man. But we got Americans cheering this stuff on. We have Americans cheering it on, man. And it's sad to see.
It is. Moving on, Arizona has now spent $661 million through its Empowerment Scholarship Account, or the ESA program as it's known here, highlighting the continued expansion of school choice in the state. The program does allow eligible families to use public education dollars for private school tuition, homeschooling expenses, tutoring, and other educational services. And supporters are saying that the program gives parents greater flexibility to choose the educational environment that best fits their child or children. Where critics are arguing that the rapid growth is placing increasing pressure on the state's education budget and reducing resources available for traditional public schools. The debate is over the funding is expected to remain a major issue during the next legislative session. From what I was reading in this new study, it was showing that 2/3 of the money that was spent on these accounts went for Amazon purchases, and one particular purchase was for well over $10,000. A $2,500 guitar and $1,300 amplifier. And, it's just crazy that parents are spending this money on Amazon purchases rather than trying to educate their children.
Well, they're not going to pay it to educate their children because the money is going to people who don't need the money for education. That's why they're buying frivolous things, because the money that they had for education is already set aside.
Mm-hmm.
They were already sending them to private school. So that this money that they're getting right now is just extra money that they can use to have a good time with.
Mm-hmm.
This is just extra money for them. The money that they were using for private school, It's already coming out of their budget, so that's
Right.
no big thing. So now they're getting the extra payout, and they're having a good time. The vacations, Amazon, and they would rather the money go to people who don't need it than to give it to somebody who is looking for money and need the money for their schools. This is the Republican ideal. Give the money to the rich for they can buy frivolous things and then look at everyone else and say, hey, well, get a job, pay for your own schools. This ESA program is robbing the people for they can go and buy Amazon and diamond rings and vacations. And why other schools are being shut down all across the city. School after school is being shut down. And they trying to tell us, oh, it's population. Our population, we're one of the top 10s in population growth. Are you saying we're not getting any kids to move here? Is that what you're saying? People aren't having kids?
Right.
Why are you closing and closing all these programs for schools, but these people are over here buying yachts and fucking Lamborghinis
and digital cameras to go out and start their professional photography
no sense,
businesses?
It
like,
makes no sense.
How are you doing this and your kid is in school?
Right. I mean, like I just said, this money for them, they were sending their kids to private school anyway. They did not need this money from this ESA program.
No, they didn't.
This is just a way for the Republicans to give more money to the rich and hand more money to them and give more to the 1%, because who cares about the poor people? And that's all it's about, man. This ESA program has just been trashed since it's been put in place. And Tom Horn, he sucks. He's a terrible leader of education in Arizona, and I cannot wait till he's fired and his tenure is over. Because everything he has done has made everything 10 times worse, as we have dropped and dropped when it comes to ranking in education in Arizona. Terrible. Terrible, man.
Right.
If there wasn't good jobs here, I wouldn't be in this state. But it's good pay here, man. Good pay, and it's always sunny. But other than that, man, it's terrible when it comes to the politics of this state. Terrible.
You're absolutely right. However, let's go ahead and get into the last one this morning. Moving on, Donald Trump is expected to kick off his celebrations for America's 250th birthday with his campaign-style rally on the National Mall, where he is expected to feature patriotic themes, military tributes, music, and remarks focused on American history and the country's future. Now, I believe he's going to use this time to do nothing but talk about himself and what he's done, what he's achieved, and he's going to say, forget about everything else that happened in history. What do you think?
Well, I mean, this is how he does things, so it definitely will be 100% about him. So that's no surprise. I believe they said he's going to have a speech. He's going to do a couple other things. So we know it'll be all about Trump and all about what he has going on. And everybody doesn't really get down with Trump right now. Everyone is not aligned with Trump is what he is doing right now. So it's tough as a country for us to come together with someone who talks trash about half of the country, talks down to half of the country. The people that are liberals, he talks trash about them. He says evil things like they're enemies of the state. And it's just a sad day when the president isn't bringing the people together. But that's exactly what we are seeing today. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to the top stuff. One of my top stories I wanted to go over today. And I wanted to go into the reduction of violence that we've seen so far in America, man. We want to thank you all so far for spending this part of your Saturday. I know this is 4th of July, so a lot of people are busy. Probably won't get a huge group today, but that's fine. We got to do it. We got to do what we got to do. But we want to thank you guys for spending part of your 4th of July this Saturday morning with us. And every week we try to do something a little different than much of the what cable news is doing. Instead of chasing the loudest headline, we try to look at what the actual data actually says. Sometimes that confirms what people believe, and sometimes it completely changes the story we've been hearing for years. Today's first discussion is one of those examples. If you spend enough time scrolling through social media or watching 24-hour news channel, you could easily come away believing that America is becoming more and more dangerous every day. Every single fight gets recorded. Every robbery ends up on TikTok. Every car chase is live streamed. We have ring cameras, police body cameras, security cameras, live streams of citizens, journalists, and 100 millions of fucking smartphones capturing incidents that previous generations would have never seen. When we're exposed to crime 24/7, it's understandable that many people feel like crime is increasing. And the right, they sell nothing but fear daily, and they make them feel as though that the immigrants are coming to get them, the black people are coming to get them. They're scared of everyone because Fox News is pushing nothing but a narrative of fear. And when not right now, we're looking at the statistics, we're looking at the data, and we see that the narrative that they're pushing is a lie. Everybody in the country, a lot of people feel like crime is increasing. Here's the interesting part: the data tells a much different story. Across the United States, violent crime has been falling for several years following the historic spike during COVID 19. Murders are down, shootings are down in many major cities. Vehicle thefts have begun declining after exploding during the supply chain crisis. Even many property crimes are moving downward. Now, that doesn't mean crime has disappeared. We're not saying that there isn't any crime, but it doesn't mean every community feels safer either. It certainly doesn't mean everyone has confidence in the criminal justice system. But if we're interested in facts instead of fear, we have to begin with the one simple reality, man. America today is significantly less violent than it was a few years ago. So the obvious questions becomes why, how, what questions are of what changes have these cities made to make things a little bit more livable for the everyday citizen in the big time city.
Yep. And that's exactly where we wanted to start today's show. Because one of the biggest mistakes that we make as a country is assuming that crime either goes up or it goes down. But because of either which political party happens to be in office, we somehow believe that if Republicans are in office, crime suddenly goes down, while if Democrats are in office, crime goes up. But criminologists have spent decades studying crime. And the reality is that far more complicated than we think. Crime is influenced by economics, employment, demographics, drug markets, neighborhood investments, education that we're receiving in our communities, community organizations, technology, policing strategies, court systems, mental health, even something as simple as the availability of catalytic converters drastically affected the auto theft nationwide over the past several years. So the question is, crime is almost never explained by just one thing, right? So we have to look at it as a whole in its totality. So that's why we're looking at trends that matter more than looking at individual stories that some news organizations may focus on. Because individual stories can definitely make us emotional. We want to go into what's trending and what tells us what's actually happening with the actual crime data and what we're seeing in the country.
Yeah, man. So I mean, we have not heard. Most of the people are going to try to push the narrative that, oh, closing the border, that was the crime fixer,
Hmm.
because the whole country is on the border. Every state is on the border, right? It's only like two states that that's on the border. What California, Arizona, Texas. The rest of the states are water. It's we're the only states that are bordered by Mexico. So I don't understand why all these other states have all these problems. Florida, because of the islands are off of their coast, it makes them a little different. So it's like 3, 4 states where a lot of immigrants come in. New York, because it's New York. But mostly the issues are in Texas, Arizona, California.
Mhm.
Those are the places that need to be. And those are the places where people don't, well, Texas complain, but the other 2 states, Arizona don't say much. These places were Mexico before we got here. Before we got to these areas, they were already Mexico. We took the border and it moved around them and their ancestors. And because they were colonized by the Spanish, a lot of people just counted them as white, but no, they've been Mexicans since the beginning, just colonized by the Spanish. That does not make them European.
Mm.
So it's disgusting what we've done and try to act like, oh, these people can't be here when this is their land. Their people have been here for thousands of years before Europeans even stepped over here. So it's crazy. It's insane that these people are sitting around blaming them. And then we've talked about the number several times. Immigrants commit way less crimes than Americans, and we want to blame them for everything that is going on in the world.
Right.
Let's look at nationally. According to multiple national crime analysts, including to the Council of Criminal Justice, violence crime continued to climb through 225 after reaching pandemic era highs several years earlier. Homicides experienced some of the largest declines. Many major metropolitan police departments reported double-digit reductions in murders compared to previous years. Aggravated assaults also declined. Gun assaults decreased in numerous cities. Motor vehicle theft, which exploded after COVID-19 because of supply chain disruptions that we talked about earlier, and organized theft rings has become stabilizing and failing in many parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
That's significant because vehicle theft became one of the fastest growing crimes during the pandemic as manufacturers improved anti-theft technology and law enforcement agency coordinated more effectively across state lines. Many jurisdictions started seeing those numbers come down. Property crime overall has continued trending downward nationally, although theft remains the largest category of reported crime in America. But crime as a whole is going down.
Yep. You're right. It is going down. So now let's bring it closer to home. Here in Arizona, Phoenix has experienced many of these same positive trends. The Phoenix Police Department reports that violent crime has steadily declined over the past 2 years. One of the clearest examples is homicide. Investigators handled 84 homicide cases during the first 9 months of 2025. Compare that to 111 during the same time period for 2024. And go back another year. Investigators handled 137 homicide investigations in 2023. That's a remarkable decline over just 2 years. And violent crime overall has also dropped by more than 1,000 reported incidents during that same time period. Property crime, the largest category of offenses in Phoenix, also declined. Motor vehicle theft fell by almost approximately 14%. That's a lot. And that's encouraging because vehicle theft had become one of the city's fastest growing crimes during the pandemic. So even if Phoenix still experiences more crime than many suburban communities, the direction of the trend matters. And that trend is moving downward. We're not seeing as much crime as we were seeing just 2 years ago.
Yeah, man. And, normally you would say that it's the president and the things that he have put in place, but you can't say that in this situation because Trump has done everything he can to make sure every Democrat state knows that he's not doing anything to help them at all. And he has kept that promise as he has done nothing but terrorize Democratic states as he's been in office. Take
Mm-hmm.
away funds, take away medical, taking away just trying to investigate the states. He has not put one policy in place to lower crime.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And if you all can tell me the policy that he put in place for crime I'll listen. But we all know he has put nothing in place to try to stop crime. Nothing. He has done everything he can to make sure that fraud is something that does not be investigated. Racism is not investigated. He's done everything he can to let people know that he doesn't care. Inflation was never 9%. So stop the lies, bro. Now, here's something important. When people compare cities, they often compare raw numbers instead of rates. That creates confusion. Of course, New York City has more total crimes than a town with 30,000 residents. Duh. It also has more than 8 million people. Crime rates help us compare communities fairly. When looking at homicide rates, Phoenix has historically remained higher than New York City because Republican states, how it is, man. Their
Wild,
cities
wild
within their states
west.
are always worse because Republican policies does not work. Phoenix has a higher crime rate than New York City, but you would never know that because they're going to tell, oh, New York is so bad. They're going to let you think that New York is the worst place ever. But Phoenix also posted stronger year-over-year improvement recently. At the same time, Phoenix remains safer than several other major metropolitan areas and cities like Philadelphia, which continues to experience higher violent rates. Dallas also exceeds Phoenix in several violent major categories. Meanwhile, cities like San Diego and San Antonio generally report lower violent crime rates than Phoenix. So Phoenix falls somewhere in the middle. It's not America's safest city. It isn't America's most dangerous city either.
Mm-hmm. And, one thing that's often overlooked is what kinds of crimes people are actually experiencing. When people hear crime, they are automatically picturing shootings, murders, carjackings, armed robberies. But violent crime actually makes up a much smaller share of the total crime that's reported than many people may realize. Property crime dominates theft, package theft, vehicle break ins, identity theft, fraud, burglary. These everyday offenses often account for the overwhelming majority of the police reports that we see. Nationally, property crimes occur several times more frequently than violent crimes do. And in Phoenix, property crime offenses represent roughly 2/3 of the reported incidences that we see. So while homicide understandably receives an enormous media attention, the average person's biggest criminal risk remains losing their property, having a break in, but not being the victim of homicide. Now, I have these neighborhood alerts that I get through my email several times a day. Majority of the crimes that I see happening in my neighborhood, property theft, burglary, aggravated assault. Nothing violent like murder or homicide.
Well, I mean, you don't live in an area like that. But anyway, um, yeah, man. We love to see crime going down across the board. We love to see what's going on in Baltimore and Maryland, where the city and the governor have come together to put plans in place to try to curtail the crime. Also in Chicago, the mayor is doing a great job in working with Pritzker to try to get some of the crime going down in Chicago to try to get some of the guns off of the streets. Um, City after city, man. If you look at a city like East St. Louis, Illinois, city I was born in, was always known as a very bad city. The crime in East St. Louis has plummeted, but also the population has plummeted. So it's it's a give and take in that situation. But also, we see that things have changed in a lot of places, and crime is getting better. Um, Chicago is not the murder capital. Chicago is like 20th when it comes to crime. But you guys, you could also always Google, man, instead of just listen to the talking points.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago is not the murder capital. It's all about by per capita. The murder capital is usually some Republican state. So I would have to disagree. Chicago residents are up in arms because the mayor. That's not true. That's not true. You guys know more about what's going on in Chicago than you know what's going on in your own cities. And it's so sad. So what? You know how many people are in the city of Chicago? You know how big the city is? Pretty big. So you have a city that has 5, 6 million people in it. 25 people getting shot does not hurt in a city the size of Chicago than it would the city the size of New Orleans, who only has 500 to a couple of million. I know you guys know what per capita is and how it works, but since Chicago is really big, it can have a lot more crime because of the size. But when you have smaller cities that are doing twice as much shootings as Chicago, then that's when you have way higher rates in a state that is known for much more murder. So you would be incorrect. East St. Louis did used to be top three. East St. Louis is not that anymore. East St. Louis is a dying town. Things still happen there, but it does not happen at the clip it used to happen back in the early 2000s and the 90s and 80s. Yeah, but that did not put that 216 murders did not put them in top 10 when it comes to murders though. So you have to make sure you understand what per capita means. 216 murders in the city of the size of Chicago is not that much. It's not bad. No, Chicago murders have went down. We just read the numbers couple moments ago, as year after year numbers have declined, and crime in America altogether has declined. And the fear that the right pushes daily is just sickening. You guys push nothing but fear and hate every day. Oh, it's crimes in Chicago. The immigrants are trying to kill us. Like, man, dude, crime is going down in Chicago. I don't know what else do we need to say to you. It's not 58% higher just because you said so. Sorry. Another important point is that crime statistics themselves have changed. For decades, police departments reported crime using what's called the Uniform Crime Reporting System. Now, departments across the country, including Phoenix, have transitioned to something called the National Incident Based Reporting System, or NIBRS. Why does that matter? Because NIBRS collects much more detailed information instead of counting just one offense during an incident. Investigators can record multiple offenses, victims, offenders, and circumstances. It's a much more complete picture of crime. But the transition like this can temporarily complicate year to year comparisons because departments are measuring crime differently than they were measuring it before. So if one person does a crime, they doesn't count all that person crime and say, oh, this person committed 34 crimes. So we're going to put that on this population and say 34 crimes were committed when it's just one person committed a crime and he did 34 different things. But that doesn't mean that those 34 is going to be committed, entered as 34 different crimes. So you'll think 34 different people did that. So they're keeping the numbers differently, which is a better picture of how crime is being collected. And it's much better this way because the other way, which is making it seem like everybody is committing crime when it's just a few people, a small percentage of people that are doing these things, but they're doing a lot of dumb shit. So researchers have to account for those reporting changes when analyzing long-term trends when it comes to crime as a whole.
Right. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit further. Crime isn't evenly distributed across America. Some states experience dramatically different crime rates over other states. For example, Alaska consistently records one of the nation's highest violent crime rates. Meanwhile, states like Maine regularly report some of the lowest. Urban density also matters. Washington, D.C., for example, experiences violent crime rates several times higher than the national average. And property crime rates there are also substantially elevated compared to most states. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every neighborhood in the state is dangerous. It just means that averages can hide enormous variations, which in every city, there are neighborhoods where crime is extremely low, And there are neighborhoods where residents experience violence more frequently than others do.
Yeah, man. So we we are celebrating that crime is going down, and um, you know, I'm not a big advocate of all the gun laws that have come out in the last 10 to 15 years, but if crime steady goes down at this rate, I can admit that I was wrong. I can admit that I was wrong on that situation,
Right.
even though we are seeing the influx of little kids getting shot, just like the other day in St. Louis. A 10-year-old boy shot a 7-month-old baby, killed the 7-month-old baby. They're trying to charge the 10-year-old who found the gun under his mattress, and not under his mattress, but under his parents' mattress. And the guy who had the gun under the mattress, he's being charged. I think he was 19. Hopefully, the 10-year-old won't be charged, because it was just a
An
very,
accident.
very, very bad accident. But this is what's happening with the laxing of gun laws. It seems like kids are paying the price, and the pro-choice people, they're okay with that. They
Right.
don't care, as long as it isn't their kids. They couldn't give two fucks about what's going on with the kids dying. So that's fine. They won't put any. The NRA is against any laws that puts gun locks, or any laws that that people have to lock their guns up. They're against that. So they're okay with kids getting shot, and the numbers have gone up and up and up since the laxing of the gun laws have been something that's the in thing to do, and the Republicans are cool with that. Now, when the baby's in the stomach, they don't want them. They're pro-life,
Pro-life.
but after birth, they could give two fucks about what happens to these kids. Which brings us to one of the biggest questions in criminology, man. What predicts crime? For generations, people talked about the so-called age crime curve. The theory was simple. Young people, particularly teenagers and people in their early 20s, commit more crimes than older adults. Generally speaking, that's still true. But newer research has found something even more powerful: poverty. When researchers control for income, education, opportunity, neighborhood disadvantages, housing instability, economic mobility, many of the difference people assumed or explained by age shrink dramatically. In other words, communities struggling with persistent poverty consistently experience higher rates of victimization and arrests regardless of their race. Now, this is something that has been talked about a lot, because the right now, the party who loves to say that they are, they're the party that released the slaves. But the next sentence after they say that is 13% to 50% of the crime.
Right.
You guys are just criminals. You're killing each other. Oh, why don't you stop killing each other? It don't matter how many times you say to them, well, 85% of white people kill each other. Why don't you guys talk about white on white crime and how bad it is when white people are killing each other? But they don't care about that. They just want to push the racism that black people are evil and born that way. And that's what they love to push. Oh, you're killing each other and you never take responsibility. Yeah, you're right. We're always blaming everyone else. But the problem is, regardless of what color you are, your economic standing is a better way of figuring out if a person is going to commit crime than their skin color. If you give people opportunities, you give them jobs, you give them safe schools, you give them places where they can build themselves and become a good part of the community, these people usually would do that. But when you leave people behind, you leave neighborhoods behind, you don't give some places opportunity, you take away schooling, you take away your fucking education, you do everything to just lock everyone up and just throw them all in jail. No economic advantages at all. No economic help for the community at all. And then you're sitting around pointing, oh, look at them criminals. Well, you're going to do everything you can to make sure that these neighborhood gets no money. They're over policed. Education is terrible. Everything is bad. And you're just going to keep on letting that trend keep going. Oh, it's been this way since slavery. Since they just been released and let go, all of them aren't taking advantage of America. Some of them are still falling through the creases. Instead of us trying to figure out what's going on, why these things are happening, let's point at them and laugh and say, "Oh, they're criminals." That is the Republican way of fixing things.
Right.
We see the economic disadvantage remain one of the strongest predictors of violent crime. That's important because it changes how people think about public safety. If poverty contributes significantly to crime, then policing alone cannot solve the problem.
Yep, it really can. And there's another interesting connection researchers have found. How people feel about the economy affects how safe people really think they are. Polling conducted by the Council on Criminal Justice found that Americans who feel optimistic about their own finances are more likely to believe crime is stable or it's declining. Meanwhile, people experiencing financial hardships are often perceiving crime as increasing when local crime statistics show the opposite. That doesn't necessarily mean that their fears aren't real, because we all know fear is real. Perception matters, but perception and measurable crime are not always the same thing. We also have to account for media exposure, personal experience, neighborhood conditions, economic stress, because all of these things can actually shape the way we think and what makes us feel safe.
So now let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention, man. Crime may be declining, but solving crime remains a challenge. Now, these people want to sit around and tell us all the time how black people commit all the crime when most of the crime goes unsolved. Most murders still go unsolved. So it's crazy that somehow these people know who's killing everyone when the police don't even know.
Right.
They're not solving shit. And it's been like that forever, man. Police, most crimes I would say 60 to 70% go unsolved. God does not, they don't solve anything. We pay these police officers all this money and they don't catch anyone. It remains a challenge. National clearance rates, the percentage of crimes solved, remain historically low for many offenses. About half of homicide cases are cleared nationally. Only half. With 50%. All of the technology, the DNA, horrible. The cameras, everything that we have, still only 50% of homicides are found.
Right.
Aggravated assaults are solved at an even lower rate. Property crimes, only around 1 in 10 ever results in an arrest. 1 in 10. Nah, man, Republican states are the highest. I know you guys don't like to read, but Republican states are the most crime-riddled throughout the nation. And it's been that way. You can try to say blue cities, but you can't do that because blue cities
reside in red
states where the funding is set by Republicans in charge. You always want to blame someone else when y'all voting Republican and been voting Republican since 1955. These states have been red. And the crime in y'all states is still horrible. Y'all still the lowest in education. Y'all still the lowest in when it comes to medical and healthcare outcomes, and the worst in crime. But you always talking about blue cities. Never look at your own and how terrible the cities are within Republican states. But aggravated assaults are solved at a lower rate, man. Property crimes, like I said, 1 in 10 ever result in arrest or clearance. Think about that. Most stolen vehicles, most burglaries, most thefts never result in someone being identified. So while crime is decreasing overall, improving investigative capacity remains one of the country's biggest public safety concerns. Because I think that we focus too much on trying to ride around and pulling over black people, hoping that they did some crime, instead of focusing on the people and the places where all the crime is being committed.
Yep.
Instead of putting money and funding into the neighborhoods that are bad, and then you can focus on the murders instead of riding around pulling people over for tickets. And I say this all the time, man. There should be a separation when it comes to tickets And when it comes to police officers and crime, police officers should not ride around giving people tickets. There should be ticketing people that ride around and do that and give people tickets for riding on the suspended or doing this or doing that, not having your tags right. Our police officers should be somewhere trying to solve real crimes. We're so focused on drugs because we've connected drugs with all crimes when really most murders it's not even about drugs. We need to focus on the murders and stop trying to focus on, oh, look, this neighborhood is bad, and just riding around messing with them when we know it's economics why these neighborhoods are bad. So we can do things to help these neighborhoods. And then our police officers can be, instead of just riding around fucking with people, they can really focus on putting people behind bars.
Yep.
Because this is not working what we're doing right now, just riding around messing with people trying to find drug dealers.
Exactly. And finally, let's look at where the federal dollars are going. The Department of Justice requested a smaller discretionary budget than previous years, including reductions to several grant programs that help local police departments and communities with their violence prevention efforts, meaning that they're taking money away from the community that's putting forth programs to help prevent violence from happening, and you're okay with that? Funding for some of these community violence intervention initiatives have been reduced, along with certain body-worn camera partnership programs. Meanwhile, spending on immigration enforcement has moved in the opposite direction. Let's give more money to immigration and take money away from our local police departments. Congress has approved a large, substantial supplemental funding package for immigration and customs enforcement, significantly expanding its available resources over multiple years, which reflects a policy choice to prioritize immigration enforcement rather than justice-related programs that face tighter budgets, like violence prevention programs in our local communities. And supporters are arguing that those investments strengthen border security and interior immigration enforcement, and critics are shifting their resources away from local prevention programs that could make it harder for communities to address the violence before it actually even occurs. Like, I know some cities have, let's use, for example, I think it's in East St. Louis, where the local gas stations or churches and things like that, they have the gun locks that you can just walk in and say, hey, I need a gun lock for my gun.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're taking funding away from the community being able to do these types of things, which I just think is just,
it's just pretty
not
much
reasonable.
That's what Trump does. And then as the cities have tried to figure out ways to do things to help the crime, Trump and them are doing the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Because they think the only thing that's criminal is the immigrants. So they're just completely just ignoring violent crime. They're taking money away from it. The DOJ is removing funds, and then as crime goes down, you know they're going to take credit for this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, oh well, look, crime went down under our watch, and they did everything they can to not help. They did everything they can to be the opposite, to not help the cities, because most of the cities are ran by blue.
Right.
And then, you know, they act like the states that they're in doesn't matter. Like the states don't set budgets. Like the state's Congress doesn't state the budget on how much policemen that they're going to get or how much funds are going to go to that city. Like it's ridiculous, man.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what we have to deal with. And this is everything that's going on. But where does that leave us? The data says violent crime is falling. Phoenix is improving. America is safer than it was just a few years ago. But fear remains high because the Republicans push nothing but fear. If you look at the comments in our show today, they are pushing nothing but fear.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is all the black people, all the immigrants, they're all trying to kill us. Chicago, they're trying to kill us. That's all they do.
Violence prevention programs don't work. They're a scam.
Yeah, violence prevention programs work.
Name me one state in which a violence prevention program does not work.
They all work, man. Anything that's trying, even if you save one or two people, it works. To say that it doesn't work, man, is just you not understanding how these things work. Fear is running your whole understanding. But the clearance rates, you know, they are low, man. Poverty continues to shape where violence occurs, and policymakers continue debating the best way to spend taxpayer dollars in the pursuit of public safety. When we come back, though, we're going to shift from crime to politics. Progressive candidates have scored a series of notable victories in Democratic primaries across the country, from Colorado to New York, raising new questions about the future of the Democratic Party while examining who won, what democratic socialism actually is, how it differs from socialism more broadly, and why these races have become a flashpoint in national politics. Now, let's go ahead and take a break and go to the commercial. We'll be right back and talk about our main story today. Corporate media failed the people. They told us what to think, what stories mattered, and who deserved a voice. Meanwhile, everyday people are struggling. Families can't afford groceries. Politicians are performing for cameras instead of helping the community. And mainstream media keeps protecting the same broken system. That's why we created Habari Live. Independent media, unfiltered conversations, real discussions about politics, sports, culture, entertainment, and the issues affecting real people. We're not backed by billionaires. We're not reading corporate scripts. And we're not afraid to challenge narratives. Because the people deserve more than outrage and propaganda. They deserve truth, perspective, community, news our way. This is Habari Live. Subscribe now and join the movement. Habari Live. Welcome back whenever it decides to want to come back. Okay, welcome back. And yeah, I agree with you, Hannibal. Fox News got these guys believing all type craziness.
Everything.
Craziness, man. You have to beat out the Fox News out of them for 15, 20 minutes before you can get them to believe anything. But so let's play a video on Trump talking about socialism and the guys that are winning and how he feels about socialism coming from the Democratic Party. Go ahead and run that video. Yeah.
Zohran Mamdani said in an interview this week that he was open to being the poster child for socialist candidates. Are you worried about more socialist candidates across the
Well, I think it's a big threat to our nation, actually, because it's not socialism, it's really communism. They use the word social democrat because it sounds so nice, but it's really communism you're talking about. I think it's the biggest threat to our nation there is, maybe since our founding. That includes World War I, World War II, September 11th.
This guy here.
The Pearl Harbor attack. Wow. I think this is the biggest threat to our nation. People will smile when I say that, but the smart people are going to say, you know, he's probably right. It's basically introducing communism into the United States of America. There's never been anything so dangerous.
He really said that.
Worse than all the people that died on 9/11. Worse than all the people that died on Pearl Harbor. Like, dude, this guy just says anything, man. I mean, straight anything. He's just talking nonsense. The progressive wave is the Democratic Party really changing. We have seen, we have watched, and we have saw the right go further right than they used to be. They used to be more of a center right. Now they are far right. They're so far right that they are agreeing. They are against people who are anti-fascist, Antifa. They are against them openly. Just how far right they've gone. They're openly against diversity, openly against having people that are black in any state of power. And they openly say they do not want this to happen. They openly are racist. I mean, it's crazy to see, but this is what is going on, man. Before the break, we looked at something where the data challenged public perception. Crime is declining across much of the country, yet many Americans still less safe than they did a few years ago. Now we're moving into a modern topic about perception and reality don't always line up. For years, one of the biggest debates inside the Democratic Party has been whether the party should continue moving toward the political center or embrace a more progressive agenda. The debate isn't new. It's something that has happened since we have introduced Bernie Sanders to his presidential run, and a lot of people were mad about his outcomes and how things shook out when the Democratic establishment took over and pushed everything towards Hillary. When America was not ready for a woman president, and we proved it again, we're not ready.
We've proved it twice.
We're a country that are run by Neanderthals and a very old school way of thinking. But debate isn't new, man. It's not new, and Democrats have argued over strategy for decades, from the era of President Bill Clinton and the New Democrat movements of the campaigns of Bernie Sanders, which brought democratic socialism into the mainstream. Now, American politics this year, that debate has become more and more visible because of what have happened in several Democratic primaries. Several long serving incumbents lost to challengers backed by progressive organizers, including the Democratic Socialists of America, often referred to as the DSA. That doesn't necessarily mean the Democratic Party has become socialist. It doesn't necessarily mean the progressive wing now controls the party, but it does suggest that in some districts, Democratic voters are asking for something different than what we've had for years. Let's talk about what actually has happened in the way of politics on the Democratic side.
You're right. One of the biggest surprises came in Colorado. Mila Kuros defeated longtime Representative Diana DeGette in Colorado's first congressional district primary. Now, that victory drew national attention because Representative DeGette had served in Congress for nearly 3 decades. Whenever someone who has held office for almost 30 years loses to a first time challenger, political analysts immediately start asking whether or not that race reflects a broader trend or simply just local dissatisfaction among the residents. But those are two different questions. Sometimes an incumbent loses because the voters want ideological change, and sometimes they lose because the constituents simply believe that it's just time for new leadership. But both things can be true at the same time. It doesn't just have to be one thing over the other. Regardless of the reason, the result immediately became part of a larger conversation about whether or not younger, more progressive Democrats are beginning to replace established Democrats across the country. And are we actually seeing a more democratic socialist candidates versus more liberal Democratic candidates?
Well, this is what's happening. And this is what happens when one party has a significant turn or change when they went more right. The Republican Party has went all the way to the right now,
Mm-hmm.
and only natural, only natural that the left is going to go further left and more progressive to challenge the ideals of the right.
Right.
Now, do I agree with 100% socialism? No. But we see in places across Europe where they have capitalistic societies with social programs built into them, where people don't get left behind just because capitalism didn't work for them. That doesn't automatically mean that you lose as a citizen. And that's the way it works here in America. If you're not with capitalism, and if you're not a part of this system, and if you're not a cog to move it forward, then you lose. Some people aren't built for this system. Some people don't have the mental capacity for this system. And I know Republicans don't really care. They'll just scream, pull your bootstraps up. They don't care about kids or anyone that's disabled or some people who just doesn't have the mental capacity to be able to handle capitalism or working in a capitalist society. This is the way it works out, man. Now, we saw what happened in Colorado, but that wasn't the only place where this happened. New York Claire Valdez won her Democratic primary, another New York candidate. Daria Liza Avila Chavaler, I probably butchered the hell out of that, defeated a 5-term incumbent. Pennsylvania Representative Chris Robb also advanced through his primary after building a reputation of one of the more progressive members of the state's legislature. Across the country, candidates endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America have accumulated dozens of primary victories this year. According to the DSA, more than 150 candidates have received endorsements this election cycle. More than 30 have already won their primaries or advanced without opposition. Some have lost. Many races remain undecided, but even critics acknowledge that the organization has become far more political influential than it was just 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Now let's pause there because this is where cable news often skips an important step. Whether or not Americans hear the word socialist, reactions tend to be immediate. Some people think of Scandinavia, some may think of Cuba, others think of the former Soviet Union, and some imagine universal health care or government control over every aspect of your everyday life. But the word seems very different. The word means different things to different people. And that's the part why political debates often become so heated, because before we can even discuss whether or not America is becoming a more progressive society, we have to understand what these labels actually mean because of democratic socialism, social democracy, liberalism, progressivism. And none of these words are interchangeable. They all have their own meaning. They all mean something different.
Right.
And they can all coincide in society and still have a productive society.
All right. Now let's go ahead and play this video of Mamdani, and he's speaking about some of the things that he has done as he's been in office.
Be an American.
And the idea of a Jewish state, Israel is a Jewish state, that's in the charter. That's the way it is now. Do you support that?
I've said time and again that I support the state of Israel as a state with equal rights. I believe that any state that
But as
preferences...
a Jewish state is the question.
I think any state that privileges one religion over the other is one that I can't tell you I support, whether it be Israel or Saudi Arabia or anywhere else. And a lot of that comes back to a fundamental belief that we should all be considered equal no matter what our faith is.
He's right.
I have to 100% agree with him.
We're all equal no matter what your religious belief is.
They're setting up a Jewish state for Jews only. Like, come on, man. It just sounds crazy. Like, we're talking about
It's just like they did with the white folks set up the all-white town in Arkansas.
right. I mean, it's just
Dumb shit.
It's just this is not good. This is not good, man. This is not what we want. But let's begin with something simple, man. Most Democratic politicians, including representatives like AOC and Senator Bernie Sanders, operate within America's capitalistic economy. Neither has proposed eliminated elections, neither has proposed abolishing private businesses, neither has proposed replacing the Constitution. Instead, they advocate for expanding government involvements in areas like healthcare, which we really need as a country. We need this. You're right, Hannibal. Tax the rich. You are right. Tax the rich. Government healthcare is something that we need. This system is not working for us.
It's not.
It's not working for us. People are losing their homes. They're losing their well-beings, trying to stay healthy. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. We need more help when it comes to housing. The government has to do something. We have the homeless people everywhere. And the plan of the Republicans to do nothing and just laugh at them and scream to pull up your bootstraps is not working. We need government to do something more about what's going on with education, labor protections. These are the things that historically Republicans have tried their best to let the rich do what they want when it comes to these situations. We need more social services while maintaining democratic elections and private enterprise. No one is trying to take those things away to become a communistic country. We want the country to remain the same ideologically, but we want it to change when it comes to some of the social nets that are set up for the poor and for the people who do not have options.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we haven't been taking care of crazy people that have, now I'm just not going to say crazy, that's people that have mental issues. We have not been putting these people in hospitals for about 40 to 50 years. Now, all of us know about walking around the cities, seeing people talking to themselves, seeing people doing crazy things because they need mental help. And we do nothing about it. Nothing. There's no hospitals. There's nothing anymore to help people that have schizophrenia, people that have any mental disabilities. We do nothing except leave these people on the streets.
And take away resources. They say approximately 61.5 million Americans, or 23.4% of the adult population, currently experiences some form of mental health disorder. Now, compare that to the nearly 100 million Americans that experience homelessness due to medical debt. Some of these things are both intertwined. Some people have mental health issues, which also increases their chances of having medical debt, which further increases their chances of becoming homeless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Crazy.
Social services have to be a part of a capitalistic society, man. We can maintain democratic elections and private enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important distinction because critics and supporters often describe these ideas differently. But supporters generally describe them as democratic socialism or social democracy. Critics often simply call them socialist, but that is not the truth. Understanding the distinction helps explain why Americans sometimes feel like they're talking past each other,
Mm-hmm.
something that Republicans seem to do every time. And we showed you the video of what Trump says. Oh, they're communists. Oh, my goodness. Nowhere near communists. But this is what they're going to do. The Republican Party is going to push fear to get you to not vote for things that will help you as a citizen.
Right. And the younger Democratic electorate has changed a lot. While millennials and Gen Z entered the adulthood during the Great Recession, many of those millennials and Gen Zs also graduated with significant student loan debt. They entered expensive housing markets. Healthcare costs continued climbing. Childcare became increasingly expensive, and home ownership, forget about that shit. We don't even know what that is. It became so difficult, and so many younger voters began asking whether or not America's economic system was actually working as well for them as it had for previous generations. Why am I not able to purchase a house and go on vacation and do all of these things that my parents and grandparents did working one salary? It's crazy. That doesn't automatically mean that people are socialists because they're asking these questions, but it does help explain why proposals like universal health care, tuition-free public college, stronger labor protections, family leave, and expanded affordable housing have gained such strong support from younger Democratic voters. Political scientists have often pointed out that generations are shaped by economic conditions they experienced during their early childhood. The Great Depression shaped one generation. World War II shaped another. The Cold War shaped another. Likewise, with the financial crisis, housing shortages, and rising costs of living that we experienced in 2008, those shaped today's younger voters. That's what we're more focused on now.
Right.
We're not focused on the same issues that generations in World War II or the Great Depression were focused on.
Right. And it's a lot of people, man, that are sick of it, man. People are sick of struggling, man. They're sick of being poor. And just like the guy just said, man, the millionaires and billionaires, they get so much government money.
They do. The government
and we
subsidies.
get nothing for all the money that is subsidized and all the tax breaks that they get. And what do we get? Nothing. And people saying, oh, what are you buying with my tax money for your SNAP benefits? We don't do the rich like that. We don't ask them
where they're
what are
spending their
what are you
billions.
doing on this with the subsidies that we are giving you? We don't check on the money and what they're doing. We just, oh, they're rich, they're doing a good job. But the poor people, we're all on their ass. They can't even buy a fucking 20-ounce soda. We don't want them to have anything. But the rich get all these tax breaks. What are you doing with your tax breaks? We don't ask any questions. Republicans, they want to know what the poor people are doing with their $6 a day. It's sad, man. But this is what we deal with in this country, where the people do not care about those that are struggling and want to reward those that are already billionaires. It's craziness. But that's our system, man. But these Republicans, however, they see this movement very differently. Many conservative leaders argue that expanding government programs inevitably increases taxes, bureaucracy, and government dependence. I know, but when it's a subsidy given and a tax break given to the rich,
to Elon Musk,
it's not government dependence then. When he's getting all the government contracts, he's getting all the government dollars, all of our taxes going to this guy. It's not government dependence for him, though.
We're paying this man's salary via our tax dollars.
But for us, oh, it's government dependence.
Our tax dollars just gave this man $1 trillion.
Man, $1 trillion. I don't like the dude. He's a racist. Can my money not go to him? Don't have a choice. No questions asked. They point to countries that experienced economic stagnation under heavily centralized systems and argue that government should remain limited. While they're okay with Trump trying to get power in Intel, while he gets trying to get power in AI, ChatGPT,
while he's making money off of
he's
Bitcoin.
making money off Bitcoin, trying to own businesses while he's in office, trying to buy percentages of businesses. He's telling businesses what they can and can't do, who they can and can't hire, telling them who they should fire, trying to get Susan Rice fired off Netflix board. He's telling private companies whatever he wants. They're okay with that. But soon as the Democrats try to do something to help the poor, oh, the government should remain limited. But they're okay with Trump doing, and he's fucking with lawyers. He's fucking with TV. He's telling CBS who they can have on their news, who they can have on their late night. He's trying to run everything. They have the gall to bring up small government. These people are insane.
Telling the news what they can and can't.
Man, telling them, trying to tell the news who they can talk about,
what they can and
what
can't
stories
cover.
they can cover. This dude is insane. And then the Republican, well, we believe in small. Y'all don't believe in shit. Donald Trump has frequently argued that progressive policies move America towards socialism and communism. Conservative commentators often warn that higher government spending could increase inflation, even though we see inflation going up anyway.
Every day.
It says it could discourage investment and reduce economic growth. But tax breaks, we've given tax breaks continuously. How are we seeing bad job growth?
55,000 jobs
How are we seeing only 55,000 jobs added?
Out of 120,000 jobs.
And we gave you the biggest tax break ever in the big, beautiful bill. Why are we not seeing any jobs? Do y'all not see the equation that's going on? We give them more tax breaks.
And they create less jobs.
How does that equal out to something good for the community? That is not the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to give these dudes economic benefits and then they reduce the amount of people that they're hiring.
Hannibal, they real triggered in the chat.
It's insane. We're reducing economic growth by giving these dudes tax breaks, because when you give these people tax breaks, they don't need incentive to make or innovation to make new money. They don't need to hire new people to make new innovations for they can make up for the money that they're losing in taxes. So they are getting all these breaks. They just go put that money offshore, go buy some stocks with that money, and they don't have to invest in any more innovations or hire any more people to make more money.
Hmm.
That's why we see a reduction in economic growth. Some also argue that expanding the federal government's role gives Washington too much influence over daily life, even though we're watching Trump influence every single part of our lives right now.
He telling universities what students they can and can't enroll.
Right.
He telling private lawyers what cases they can and can't take.
He's running the DOJ, telling him who and what
Who needs to be investigated
and investigated. He's using them as pawns to go after companies that he's mad at. And they're talking about socialism would make too much influence over daily life. It's bullshit. They have no concerns over these things. This resonates with many conservative voters, particularly those who prioritize limited government, even though they're letting Trump do whatever the hell he wants to. They love limited government when it's a Democrat. When it's a Republican, they can do what the hell they want and they won't say one word.
Mm-hmm.
They like low taxes for the rich. They love free market principles. But they seems to be hypocrites when it comes to the Republicans being held to those standards.
Right. And progressives are responding by saying that that's not what they're advocating for. They often point to countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland, where these countries have capitalistic economies. People who own businesses, private companies are competing against each other. The stock market exists. Entrepreneurship exists. But government also provides a broader social safety net than the United States does. Progressives argue that these policies produce much healthier outcomes, lower poverty rates, and a greater economic security. And critics are responding to those countries that have smaller populations than different tax systems, different political cultures, and cannot simply be compared directly to the United States. But again, reasonable people disagree. And that's exactly why these debates continue to happen election after election. How is it that we're able to watch all of these other countries implement successively these ideas, but somehow it's too costly for Americans to implement these ideas? It's too costly for Americans to have health care that benefits them.
Mm-hmm.
It's too costly to make sure that we have childcare that benefits the women in our workforce.
Right. Now, one thing almost everyone agrees on is this: the Democratic Party is changing. Whether someone believes those changes are positive or negative often depends on their political philosophy. Older Democrats frequently emphasize experience, coalition building, and incremental reform. Younger progressives often push for a faster structural change. Neither side represents the entire Democratic Party. Both remain influential. Primary election increasingly determine which visions voters prefer. That's why those races matter far beyond Colorado and New York. They're shaping the future direction of one of America's two major political parties. Now, we've talked about progressive victories. We've mentioned socialism several times. But where did socialism actually come from? Where did the ideal start? Where did the original philosophers believe? And how has socialism changed over the past centuries, or how people think about it? And how is democratic socialism different from communism, capitalism, and social democracy? Because regardless of your politics, understanding that history helps make today's political argument much easier to follow. We're going to break that down here the next few minutes here. So make sure you keep your ears open on this, because the history of socialism, from Karl Marx to Bernie Sanders, AOC to modern democratic socialism, what we are seeing today. Now, a lot of people on the right, they're hating it. They're screaming bloody murder. But we're going to answer the question: what is socialism? Separating history, myth, and the modern politics of today. We have discussed the recent primary victories by progressive candidates and how those races have reignited a national conversation about socialism. Now we're going to slow the conversation down a little because this one of the most misunderstood topics in American politics. Depending on who you ask, socialism is either the answer to America's growing inequality or one of the greatest threats to economic freedoms ever. Those are very different perspectives, and they're often rooted in different definition of the word itself. I think some people on the right are very confused on what socialism really is.
Mm.
And if we're going to have an honest conversation, we have to start with history, not campaign slogans, not Donald Trump's stupid mess, and not the Republicans' definition of what socialism is. Socialism did not start with Bernie Sanders. It did not begin with AOC. It didn't even begin in the United States. And I think most people know that. It roots back more than 200 years during the Industrial Revolution in Europe.
It started in Europe. So to understand socialism, we have to understand the world that produced it. The Revolution transformed economies across Europe and North America. Factories replaced many forms of manual labor. Cities rapidly grew. Production increased dramatically. But those changes also came with some harsh working conditions for many of the laborers. Workers often labored 12 to 16 hours a day. Child labor was often common. There were few workplace safety protections, no minimum age, no overtime laws, no unemployment insurance, no social security, and no workers' compensation. So if you got hurt on the job didn't pay you, you just got sent home, and it was just whatever. You lost your pay. So if someone became injured on a job, they often, like I said, lost their income, and they often lost their employment because you're injured. You're not working. I'm not going to pay you to not work, so you're fired. Many early political thinkers believed that capitalism created enormous wealth for factory owners while leaving workers with little economic security. And that criticism laid the groundwork for socialist ideas such as your pension, your workers' comp. You get injured on the job, you still get paid. Your short-term disability. If you get injured on the job, you can use your short-term disability or your long-term disability to still get paid via your job. You don't lose your job just because you got injured on the job. That's what these socialist programs are for.
Right.
That's what they help. You benefit from them.
Mm-hmm. And one of the most influential figures associated with socialism is Mr. Karl Marx, along with his collaborator Friedrich Engels. In 1848, they published the Communist Manifesto. Their argument was straightforward, even if people disagreed with it today. Many people disagree. Marx believed history was driven by conflict between economic classes. He argued that under capitalism, business owners, what he called the bourgeoisie, owned the means of production, while workers, the proletariat, sold their labor. Marx believed this relationship inevitably created inequality because owners accumulated profits while workers produced the value.
Mm-hmm.
His long-term prediction was that workers would eventually organize, replace capitalism, and create a society where productive resources were collectively owned. Now, it's important to note that Marx's predictions have been debated, criticized, and interpreted in many different ways over the last century and a half.
Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest misconceptions in American politics is that socialism and communism are the same thing. But historically, they are related, but they're not identical. Socialism is a broad family of political and economic ideas, where communism is one specific ideology that developed from Marx's writings and was later implemented in different ways by leaders such as Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, and Mao Zedong. Those governments became one party states with centralized political control and extensive state ownership. Supporters argued that they were pursuing equality, while critics pointed out the widespread political repression, censorship, and economic insufficiencies and human rights abuses that occurred under many communistic governments. Because of that history, many Americans associated the word socialism with authoritarian governments. But many modern democratic socialists reject those systems and argue that democratic socialism is fundamentally different because it operates through free elections and constitutional government, and everyone that is a resident or a citizen, they have a say as to what goes on. Not so much as in a communistic
Right.
society.
Now, Republicans love to holler and scream how much that they don't want things for free and they don't want handouts.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout history, if you look at the Army, and if you enroll in the Army,
Mm-hmm.
the Army is a huge socialistic program.
They
But they're
give you
giving you
sign-on bonuses.
they're giving you housing, they're giving you medical for your entire family. It's a social program to make sure the people that are working for the Army and the military are taken care of. And who takes care of them? Our tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
They get everything handed to them because of their sacrifice they're making to work for the military. When you look at Medicare, Medicaid, these programs are paid out of our checks to make sure when you're old, even though it's not really working, that you are taken care of,
Right.
and that your hospital bills will not put you in the poorhouse. But those things aren't working the way they want, as we're still seeing older people lose everything because they get sick. Nothing is free, man. This is all tax dollars, and how we decide to use our tax dollars instead of giving our tax dollars to the rich to make sure that they can go buy 7, 8 new yachts. We're going to give it to people who fucking need it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of giving the money from education to rich people who already sent their children to private schools so they can buy new TVs and jewelry and go on vacation, we're going to get it to the poor people who actually need it.
Right.
This way of just giving all the money to the rich people is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in history. And the don't tread on me people, I am so surprised that this is what you want to do. Give all the tax breaks to the rich, all the incentives to the rich, and take every program that helps anybody else away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we're talking about the United States and socialism, America has never been a socialist country. The U.S. economy has always been primarily capitalistic. That means private individuals and business owns most property. Companies compete in markets and consumer decides where to spend their money. But America has also never had a completely unrestricted free market. Think about programs many Americans rely on today, like Social Security, retirement benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, all of these programs that help people, public schools, streets, public policing, the fire departments, libraries, road constructions, national parks. All of these things are funded through socialistic programs. And you all love them. You all love going to the parks. You all love using your Medicaid. You all love Social Security. That's first thing. Don't touch my Social Security or Medicaid. Y'all love that shit. But when it comes to us trying to make healthcare a socialistic program all the way out, instead of just Medicaid, make it for everyone, not just Medicare, they get mad. They don't want it because their people are telling them that it's bad. But it's good. Government funding programs servicing operating within a capitalistic economy works. That's why many economists describe the United States as having a mixed economy rather than a purely laissez-faire system.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it is.
Exactly. So where exactly do Bernie Sanders and AOC fit? They both identify with democratic socialism, but many of the policies that they champion are also found in countries that are often described as social democracies. These include things like universal health care, expanded labor protections, higher minimum wage, paid family leave, affordable housing initiatives, tuition assistance, and greater protections for workers seeking to organize unions. Supporters are arguing that these policies reduce inequality and strengthen the middle class, while critics are saying that they require higher taxes and expand government authority and can reduce economic competitiveness if implemented poorly. Again, those are competing political viewpoints, and voters ultimately decide which direction they prefer to go. Now, me personally, I would rather see universal health care. I would rather see the rich paying a higher tax, which would increase the middle class, which would also decrease and reduce some of the homelessness that we're seeing with our poor.
Right.
We could do all of these things if we stop giving all of the tax cut incentives to the rich.
Right. So let's also talk about the DSA, or the Democratic Socialists of America. The DSA has grown significantly over the past decade. Its members advocate for expanding workers' rights, strengthening union, increasing affordable housing, reducing wealth inequality, and expanding public investment in healthcare and education. The organization has endorsed more than 150 candidates during the election cycle. According to the group's own reporting, more than 30 candidates have already won their primaries, while others have lost or are awaiting election results. It's important to remember that not every progressive Democrat belongs to the DSA, and not every Democratic supports democratic socialism. The Democratic Party remains a broad coalition that includes moderates, liberals, centrists, and progressives. It's the main reason why we have so much infighting, because we're a coalition of different groups that's put together in a tapestry or a patchwork to come together to try to beat the Republicans. And we have to try to meet on a middle ground, because we're not the same thinking like Republicans are.
Yep. But now let's go ahead and shift and discuss why these ideas are becoming more popular with some voters. One factor is affordability. Housing costs have risen dramatically in many cities, and healthcare expenses continue to be a major concern for many American families. Student loan debt has also affected millions of Americans, and child care costs continue to climb. Wages have increased in many sectors, but in some of these areas, they have not kept the pace with the cost of living. Now, I know there was a previous job that I worked at. It was a healthcare job, and when I got hired, one of the things that they said to me during the interview process was, "We do not provide cost of living increases to your salary at the beginning of the year." That was ridiculous. I had never heard of such. Most companies that I have worked for have always provided some sort of incremental increase, whether it's 1% or 2%. This company decided, no, we don't provide that at all. Whatever we say we're paying, that's all we're giving. We're not giving any raises. We're not giving you out anything. And they made sure that that was true. But like I said, for many young voters, these economic pressures shape their political priorities. Progressive candidates can often argue that the government should play a larger role in addressing these challenges. Conservative candidates genuinely argue that reducing regulation, encouraging private investment, and promoting economic growth can provide more sustainable solutions. But those represent two different philosophies about how government should be responding to the same problem.
Yeah, man. So one thing that's often missing from these conversations about socialism is the nuance. Political labels can oversimplify people's beliefs. Someone may support universal health care but oppose government ownership of industry. Someone else might support free markets but also believe government should strengthen labor protections. Many Americans hold views that don't fit neatly into a single ideological box. That's why it's useful to look beyond labels and focus on specific policies. When folks understand what a proposal would actually do, they can decide whether they support it based on its merits rather than its name and the fear that has been pushed behind that.
Right. So, where does it leave us? The recent primary victories show that progressive candidates continue to resonate with many Democratic voters. And at the same time, moderate Democrats remain influential across much of the country. And Republicans are continuing to argue that these policy proposals represent a significant expansion of government. But this isn't simply a debate over one election. It's a debate over the future direction of American politics and the role of government and what they should play in American lives. As for many young voters enter the electorate these upcoming years and new leaders emerge, the conversation is likely to continue shaping campaigns for many years. M- Much of the younger generations are going to want to continue seeing the Democratic Socialist programs being pushed forward.
Yeah, yeah, man. So I mean, we played the videos from Mamdani and talked about some of the ways, the views he has about the Jewish state. We also talked about Trump's views on socialism and how he thinks it's the worst thing to happen since World War One. But why has his win, Mamdani's win, generated so much national attention? What are supporters saying? What do you guys think? What concerns are people on the other side raising? And what could it mean for the Democratic Party heading into the future elections? Is this something that you guys think is important when it comes to candidates, that they have these ideals in their bag when they're bringing what they're bringing to the table? Because I know that one of the things that I demand from all candidates that I'm voting for is that you're pushing for universal health care. I have made that rule, man. I'm not voting for you if you're not pushing for it. If you don't believe in it, you're not pushing for it, I'm not voting for you. We have to make a stand as a people when it comes to these things. I'm sick of seeing people on the side of the corner in wheelchairs that can't afford health care. I'm sick of seeing people laid out on the streets. I'm sick of this shit, man.
Mm.
And the Republican Party, they love to talk about these people and talk about crime. But when we say, hey, let's do something about it, they don't have any answers. They want to keep things the way they are so they can laugh and point at them. They don't want to fix things. We see how Republicans have responded, and whether these primary victories represent a lasting shift or simply a moment in time, we will have to see, man. We will have to see. But let's get into the last segment, man. We're going to talk about some the top clips that we've watched this week and some of the top things that we've seen, and we wanted to share with you guys and discuss a little bit different topics, and we'll see what they have in common in the end. But our first segment, we discussed how the data often tells a different story than public perception when it comes to crime. Now in our final segment, we're going to examine another issue where labels often move faster than facts. One of the biggest political stories this year has been the rise of progressive candidates within Democratic primaries, and perhaps no victory has received more attention than Mamdani. For many Americans, that was the first time they'd heard his name, but people who closely follow New York politics, Mamdani has been a rising figure for 7 years. His campaign has become a symbol dependent on who you ask, either the Democratic Party's future or a direction that critics believe could hurt the party if competitive elections.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're going to unpack why his campaign was generated so much attention.
Sure. Before we discuss the reactions, let's go ahead and start with what Mandami actually campaigned on. Much of his message focused solely on affordability. Like many progressive candidates, he argued that the cost of housing, transportation, childcare, and healthcare has made life increasingly difficult for the working class families. His campaign emphasized expanding affordable housing, strengthening tenant protections, increasing public investment in community services, while supporting labor unions and asking for higher income residents to pay more in taxes to help fund the public programs he's initiating. Supporters viewed those proposals as practical responses to the rising cost of living. But critics argued that they would require higher taxes, expand government spending, and politically discourage businesses or higher income earners from investing in the city. But those competing perspectives have become central to debates over progressive politics nationwide. Now, what I have seen since Mandami has taken office is that a lot of his policies have indeed worked. Now, how can we scale those ideas nationwide?
Yeah, man. I love what Mamdani is doing, and everything he's doing. I believe is great, man. And I really have no problem with he's doing. But we're gonna go straight into the videos, man, before we can try to wrap this up. Let's play this video of a nun being arrested by ICE. Craziness, man. Crazy stuff, man. When we're arresting nuns and putting people in behind bars who live their lives to help people, that live their lives and gave up their lives to help others, and we're pushing them people into jail, man.
Simply borrow from pensions and the state. But if we're borrowing from pensions, that means you're borrowing from individual Americans, which means you're borrowing from their tax dollars.
Right. Now let's go ahead and play this clip, man. Wisconsin Farmers Union president says they are frustrated with the Trump administration and how things are working out for him. Should be at the bottom. There you go. Farmers.
If you could pick one word to describe how it feels to be a farmer right now in America, what would that one word be?
Frustrated. And number one, because most of this situations have been caused by the administration's actions. He's pissed off our biggest buyer with China. And with them not buying our products, we're losing those markets to other countries.
Does it feel like the president is putting American farmers first?
You know, not really. I would. There's certain things that he's done correctly, but they're very few. Certainly understand the America First approach. That's what we all hope for. But in reality, are we putting America first when we're putting ourselves at a market disadvantage overnight? You know, number one, because the American consumer expects high quality products at an affordable price. And we're really not going to see that with tariffs on pretty much everything that the consumer buys and consumes.
So there's a common assumption that when the grocery prices rise, farmers are automatically making more money. But that's often not how agriculture works. Dairy farmers are price takers, not price setters. Many sell their milk into markets where prices are determined by broader supply and demand formulas. Federal milk marketing orders and contracts, not by what consumers pay at the grocery store. Diesel prices go up, feed costs rise, fertilizers becomes more expensive, electricity increases, transportation costs climb. Those higher operating expenses hit farmers immediately. Meanwhile, the price they receive for milk may not increase enough or quickly enough to offset those higher costs. That's why you can have consumers paying more for milk while dairy farmers say they are barely even breaking even.
Yep. And that's an important distinction, because Americans often think that inflation benefits the producers. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But farmers are dealing with incredibly thin profit margins. Weather, disease, interest rates, equipment costs, fuel, labor shortages, global trade. Every one of those factors affects whether or not a farm can survive one year after the next. And the average person sees a gallon of milk costing more. The farmer often sees a higher bill coming in from every direction. I mean, depending on where you go here in Arizona, a gallon of milk is probably going to run you about almost $4 for a simple gallon of milk. $3.98.
Yeah, and their prices are steady ticking up. And we're seeing the problems that we've seen when it comes to these screw worms. So beef prices are going up. And we're just seeing a lot of issues as he screws the farmers again. He screwed them the first time, and he's doing it again.
He did have to bail him out his first term.
Right. So let's go to Clarence Thomas as he's at the Capitol. And some people say he was talking to Mike Johnson. as I think they were trying to get their things together when it comes to how they were voting with the birthright citizenship. Go ahead and play this clip.
I guess so.
Justice Thomas, can we ask who you were meeting with today?
What'd you say?
Can we ask who you were meeting with this afternoon?
What'd you say?
Who were you meeting with this
Oh,
afternoon?
nobody.
Why did you have to ask that?
Oh, God, no.
So what are you doing up here?
Oh, just walking.
No meetings in particular?
I'm going to tell you about.
Tomorrow's going to be a big day at the court, huh? Final day of decisions?
Oh, I guess so.
You want to give us a sneak peek of some of the decisions?
Nope.
But you can't tell us why you're up here today, who you're meeting with? Who are you meeting with, sir? Were you up here for any particular reason? No info on who you may have been meeting with? Anyone in House GOP leadership? That's who has offices in there. Any matters you were up here discussing? Any comment on today's decisions and the end of the Supreme Court term?
You have good questions.
And any comment on the end of the term?
You have good questions.
You want to answer any of them? Any comment at all? Thank you, sir.
That's crazy. John said the dozen eggs where she lives is $1.49. I'd love to see $1.49 for a dozen eggs. But this dude here, he just went through and did absolutely the worst.
Justice Clarence Thomas was filmed walking through the House side of the U.S. Capitol in an area that includes offices used by the Speaker of the House and Republican members. We know he was speaking with Speaker Johnson. When reporters asked questions, why was he there, he responded that he was meeting with no one. Now Supreme Court justices do occasionally visit the Capitol for official business ceremonies or meetings. The clip by itself does not establish why Mr. Justice Thomas was in that area or whether he met with anyone after the camera stopped rolling.
Mm-hmm.
But we know he was there to make sure their stories were aligned, and they were doing Trump's bidding and making sure he was going the route that the Republicans wanted him to go.
Right. But that said, Justice Thomas has been under heightened public scrutiny in recent years because of ethics questions involving his gifts, travel, and his financial disclosures. Those issues have fueled calls from some lawmakers for a formal special Supreme Court ethics code or stronger enforcement mechanism. And supporters of Thomas are arguing that much of the criticism is politically motivated. But critics are arguing that the greater transparency is necessary in order to maintain public confidence in the judiciary system. But the short clip doesn't just answer those larger questions, but what it does is show why public appearance by Supreme Court justices receives so much attention. Why he couldn't just answer a simple question. He could have just said, hey, I'm meeting with so-and-so today. And it would have been the end of the conversation. He wouldn't have continued pressing him on anything that was going on. And he just answered the simple question, who are you meeting with?
Right. Yeah, man, it's pretty sad to see, man. We know this guy is doing something that he's not supposed to be doing. And we know that he's meeting with people he's not supposed to be meeting with to align his decisions on the dockets that were coming up the next day. Some of the big ones.
Right.
We know what he was doing. So we're going to go to clip 4. So we got Dr. Elizabeth Prater versus United Healthcare. Healthcare remains one of the biggest concerns for millions of Americans today. In this clip, Dr. Elizabeth Prater describes her efforts to challenge insurance companies and their decision affecting patient care. Physicians across the country have long expressed frustration with prior authorizations, requirements, reimbursements, disputes, and administrative hurdles that can delay treatment. As a lot of people are upset with healthcare companies that they make money about their bottom line instead of saving people. Now to go ahead and play this video. It's going to be the one with the lady was talking about healthcare and companies after her. There you go.
She was having a mastectomy on the table for breast cancer. They wanted me to tell them her diagnosis and to justify her overnight stay. As I was leaving that day, I picked up my phone and I said, I just need someone to know.
I got a phone call into the operating room saying that United Healthcare wanted me to call them about one of the patients who was having surgery today, who was actually asleep having surgery. And I was like, do you understand that she's asleep right now? And she has breast cancer.
What happened is the big insurance company sent me a very threatening six-page letter telling me to apologize for speaking out, to remove the post, to say that I had lied, which I had not. And they said I was fomenting violence because there were comments online saying, you know, we hate insurance companies, etc. I called an attorney who agreed to take my case pro bono. He said, Elizabeth, do you want to make this go away? Or would you like to make a difference? And I let the world see how insurance companies treat us when we stand up for patients. And they had stamped on the top of that letter, they had stamped confidential. And my attorney said, bull. And by the way, partisanship, like our patients deserve that every 4 years, healthcare is not up for debate. Period. So like there is no sides. This is a right, a human right. It should be an American right. I will sit in a room with anybody who wants to do something for patients and healthcare workers. We are going to change healthcare in America, and that is part of the story. We are going to create the Speak Free Act that protects us when we tell the truth professionally about what is going on.
That's real. That's real, man.
She ain't said nothing but the truth. The whole truth and none but the truth. Insurance companies, on the other hand, argue that utilization review and prior authorizations are intended to control the costs, reduce unnecessary procedures, and help ensure treatments are medically appropriate. But here's my take. When a doctor and a patient has gone through 15 different treatments and none of those treatments working, and they say we need this one and we apply for a prior authorization, and you as the insurance company, you're going to say, denied, not medically necessary.
Right.
This patient has gone through 15 different treatments that have all failed. This is the one that's going to work for them, and you're still going to deny that care saying it's not medically necessary? Mm-hmm. How? Why? You aren't in the doctor's office with the patient and the doctor.
That's real.
You know absolutely nothing but the bills and the paperwork that's coming through. Mm-hmm. And this is coming from someone who does medical billing and medical records for a living.
Right.
I understand this process. I understand exactly where she's coming from because she's exactly right.
Yeah.
I have seen countless claims come through that have gotten denied because the doctor left off of a simple modification error code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Critics are saying that these processes can delay healthcare and increase the stress for both patients and healthcare providers, while supporters are arguing that they're necessary in order to keep healthcare spending sustainable. The debate continues to shape discussions on healthcare reform across the United States. One thing that I will continue to say and advocate for is healthcare for all. It already comes out of your paycheck as a tax, whether it be $5 or $3. Increase that amount that comes out of your paycheck. Right. Decrease the amount that employers are paying for health care.
Let's go ahead and play this next clip. We got a South African anti-foreigner protest. This video shows demonstrations in South Africa where protesters are calling for foreigners to leave the country. South Africa has experienced repeated waves of anti-immigration protests and violence over the past 2 decades. Supporters of these demonstrations often argue that immigration places pressure on jobs, housing, and public services. Go ahead and run that. Go ahead, bring us back, man.
Sean, I'm sorry you had to deal with the blood clots and the insurance company, but it's like I said, many of the insurance companies, they have this what they call a doctor on duty, which provides a peer review. And this doctor who has absolutely no idea what you're going through, they're going to go through and review all of the documentation that your doctor has provided the insurance company. And based off of that documentation that your doctor has provided the insurance company, this independent doctor is now saying, sorry, no, you didn't call us ahead of time. You didn't get a prior authorization. You didn't do this, so your claim's denied. When in actuality, what you're experiencing is a life-threatening situation. And the doctor is in the insurance company is still saying denied.
Right.
Like a few weeks ago, we discussed how a firefighter in California had passed away because he was unable to receive the life-saving treatments that he needed because the insurance company denied his treatment the day that he was supposed to receive the treatment.
Yeah, man. It's terrible. It's terrible. But critics counter that immigrations are often unfairly blamed for broader and economic challenges such as unemployment, inequality, and slow economic growth. South Africa continues to face some of the world's highest unemployment rates, and economic frustration has fueled tensions that occasionally erupt into violence. And like I said, man, when I saw this, I already knew that it was government failure because they are not hiring people. And basically, when the government fails, the people turn its ire towards the people who are coming in looking for help. Just like in America, it's people who are poor and they're struggling, and instead of looking for their leadership to do something in their area, they just blame immigrants. And that's an easy blame for the politicians, and these things can spill into violence. And that is what's going on in South Africa. I 100% disagree with their stance, but I understand, just like you understand it in America. You understand these people are struggling, and basically what they do is they blame their problems on the immigrants. But it's not the immigrants' fault. It's your local government that's failing you. And why your local government is never the blame when it comes to the issues that they face in Republican areas, I don't know. But somehow you hold everybody else to the accountability standards. Somehow you can tell Democrats what to do in all these places. But when it comes to the failures of Republicans in local areas, you all say nothing.
Exactly. Brooklyn 5995, the firefighter needed cancer treatment.
Yeah, and they didn't get it.
And they denied his cancer treatment.
And he died.
And he
because
died.
They wouldn't give him the treatment.
Now his family has a right to sue the healthcare insurance company for wrongful death.
Yeah, man.
Because they denied this man's cancer treatment.
Now, a big discussion has been immigration, birthright citizenship that's been going on across the world, from South Africa to America. But let's listen to Republicans, J.D. Vance, as they are upset about birthright citizenship.
It's fundamentally a loophole that now exists in our immigration system that rewards illegal aliens just because they have a baby in the United States while they're in our country illegally. So I think that loophole is going to cause a lot of problems. There are a number of things that we're already looking at in the administration, Laura, to try to close down that loophole. But fundamentally, what we're talking about is fixing a problem the Supreme Court created. We also want to look over the long term at undoing that problem to begin with, because, again, this was only a 5-4 decision, Laura. How many times did we hear people say that this was going to go 8-1 against the administration? We made some very compelling arguments. We have the better of the case. We've just got to keep fighting at this. And this drives home, Laura, why the midterms are so important, because it's the senators who ultimately vote on those Supreme Court justices. Imagine if one of the 5 justices who made a bad call today, if they left the Supreme Court. We want to make sure we get somebody good on there in the future.
So his idea is to try to pack the courts with more Republicans. Like, dude, fuck, man. Y'all trying to change the Constitution so people who are born here aren't citizens. We got a guy in there, we need a catapult to throw the people out. Like, man, y'all are so ignorant. Like, dude, blaming all of your problems on immigration is just, you are a loser. You are a loser. You're looking for handouts from somebody else, hoping, the immigrants got so much of that free money, maybe I'll get some. The immigrants don't get money. Now, when the Democrats, the Republicans were taking immigrants from Texas and moving them up to Chicago, they really didn't have a choice but to help those people.
Right.
They dropped the people off in the middle of the city. What the fuck did you think they were supposed to do? Just
And
leave
told them they was on
thousands
their
of people
own.
in the middle of the streets because Florida and Texas want to play games? But that's what they did. They played games with people's lives, taking them from the border and dropping them off in Chicago and New York. Crazy shit, man. And then like, well, they're giving them money. Well, why would y'all gave them a fucking ride? Took them to the middle of the country when the problem was at the border. You're trying to you can't fix your border issue, so you go and drop them off in Chicago. Just crazy shit. But J.D. Vance says the administration intends to continue pursuing challenges to birthright citizenship despite recent Supreme Court developments. Birthright citizenship is rooted in the 14th Amendment, which states that people born in the United States and subject to its jurisdictions are citizens. The administration has argued that this provision should not apply in all circumstances, while opponents argue that longstanding legal precedents protect broad birthright citizenship. Now, Trump wouldn't be a citizen under these laws and these things that he's saying. He wouldn't even be here because his parents were immigrants.
Yep.
So he wouldn't be a citizen, and we would have to kick his ass out.
J.D. Vance wouldn't be married to his old lady and
Right,
have 4
and they
kids.
wouldn't be citizens because you have to be an American to be an American. You can't be an immigrant and have kids, and your kids then you become an American. That don't count. So it's just craziness, man.
Melania wouldn't be here.
Right.
You're right. But the issue is likely to remain in the courts for some time. Even after the recent Supreme Court decisions addressing nationwide injunctions, the underlying constitutional questions about birthright citizenship have not been fully resolved. So the debate is far from over. We're going to continue seeing these debates, and we're going to continue seeing how these things are playing out. But like we were saying, based off of these policies that Trump is wanting to implement, him and his whole family wouldn't be here. His wife's family wouldn't be here. J.D. Vance's wife and family wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't be married to immigrants.
Go ahead and let's play the next clip. We got Trump talking to the Canadian leader. I think it's there, yeah.
Together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that was a mistake because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago, but it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table. So it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot.
Now, Trump has been crying about Russia and wanting them back in the G8. You know, his protections is for dictators. He loves Russia. He wants to do everything he can to protect them. And it's what he's done to make sure that Russia takes over Ukraine. He doesn't care about Ukraine's situation. So it's really crazy. He treats Canada like shit. He's really pushing towards to end the North American trade agreement. He wants to withdraw from that and the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, the USMCA, and replaced NAFTA in 2020 and governs trade among the 3 North American countries. Any effort to withdraw could have significant implications for manufacturers, agriculture, supply chain, and consumers. But he wants to destroy any trade that we have. We had free trade agreements, and he wants to put money in between to make it worse and do everything he can to destroy the trade agreements that we've had with Canada and Mexico. It's past ignorant and probably the dumbest thing that I've seen happen politically in my lifetime. And this will have effects on the economy and everything for the future. And as farmers and everyone else goes broke because of this dumb ass decisions that this guy is putting in place, businesses are being hurt as they sit around talking about free enterprise, and he's doing whatever he wants to put in tariffs and hurt trade agreements. It's disgusting. But supporters are arguing renegotiation trade agreements can strengthen American industries and improve leverage in future negotiation. Critics warn that uncertainty surrounding trade agreements can affect investments, decisions, and disrupt cross-border commerce, something that Trump is doing daily. Now we're going to play J.D. Pritzker accusing Donald Trump of cognitive decline. Go ahead and play that. We almost done here. No, it should say Pritzker on it.
The president says that Democratic Socialist, which he says is a nice term for communist, as he's been labeling these Democrats since they won last week, he says they're the greatest threat to the country since its founding, and he said that includes World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, and 9/11.
Look, the man is continually suffering from dementia. I don't think he really understands what he's saying. The truth is that, I mean, this is a man who's threatened to jail the mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois. He regularly threatens to go after people, and indeed has used the Department of Justice to go after people. So, you know, I think he has these concepts in his head, and he blurts them out without really thinking.
Do you really think the president has dementia?
I do. I think if you look at any of the videos from 2015 or 2016 and look at how he responded to questions and how he was at press conferences, and then you fast forward and look at him now, I really think that there's something genuinely wrong with him. I'm not a doctor. I haven't diagnosed anything. I'm just suggesting to you that just look at the way he puts words and sentences together and thoughts, and they're almost divergent in the same sentences.
That's real. Now let's play this next video of Tom Homan talking about how they're going to go in on immigrants after the decision.
Also, step up enforcement. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to step up enforcement. The enforcement's already at a record level. We're going to have to do more.
What does that look like? Stepping up.
More agents in the street. That's more illegal aliens.
More agents, huh? So we're going to play a little bit of what Tom Homan's agents, ICE, has been doing over the last weeks as he's been in charge. Go ahead and run the ICE detained video that's above him.
¿Tienes algún número? ¿A qué cosa ya? Dilo.
Deja, él con el niña.
No puedo, yo no voy a dejar a mi hija.
Ella va con usted, pero...
832. 215, 2615.
Levante ahora.
Di tu nombre.
Julia Tuja.
Levante ahora.
Llevar, yo no hice nada, espérate.
Adán.
Levante ahora.
Si deja a la niña.
Papá, me agarró migración, papá. Estoy aquí en la Harry, la Fondre. Pero la niña.
Levante ahora.
Ok.
Levante ahora.
Ella
va con usted.
¿Va a llevar a la niña?
Yo llevo a mi hija.
Sí, ella va con usted.
So why you guys doing that, man? What the fuck, man?
Espérate. Suéltame.
Vámonos.
Espérate.
Ok, vámonos.
Mi papá. Voy a avisar a mi papá. No, touch my...
She wanna talk with his son. Let him know. Let her talk with some parents, right? What the fuck you guys doing that, man?
Espérate, dame.
Ma'am, can I put an order? Deja la niña.
Let her.
Espérame, pues voy a sacar la llave.
Ok, espere.
Espérate,
Usted no dice.
Scary shit, man. Scary shit. As Tom Homan promising increased immigration enforcement, Donald Trump saying his children have inside information. Let's go ahead and play that video of Donald Trump admitting that his kids have insider information.
I feel badly in a way for my kids because every time my kids do, if they invest in a stock or if they go and do a bill, anything they do, because the presidency is so powerful, so big, everything, if they buy a cupcake company, well, the energy to make the cupcakes is, you know, sort of like, how's my energy policy? So therefore you have a conflict. Almost anything they do, if they want to buy a truck, if they want to buy, you know, if they buy an energy efficient truck, they have inside information. It's pretty tough in that sense. I tell my kids, stay away from as much as you can stay away from, but they also have a life.
He telling his kids, put yourself in everything.
These dudes, man, and they going around. They've made $1 billion since he's been in there.
2.24 billion.
Just making all the money. They don't stay out of anything. Jared Kushner has no title. He's just riding around talking to people, making deals. Like this shit is insane, man.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. Let's go ahead and play this Pete Hegseth video, and we're gonna pretty much get up out of here.
You do your job no matter what. In fact, this background noise this morning is perfect. It's the sound of ingrates, of ingratitude, of people who are so blinded by ideology they can't see law and order and common sense in front of them. That there's nothing ideological about this group. There's nothing political about this exercise. Law and order is something all Americans deserve. Black, white, rich, poor, man or woman from DC or far-flung places in this country. And the beautiful thing is when I look out at this group, that's all of you. From all across this great country. You're not from Washington, most of you, but this is your capital. And you believe in this 250th year that it should be safe and it should be secure for every single citizen that lives here and every single citizen that comes to visit in this 250th year. And you do it whether it's cold, whether it's raining, whether it's, well, it doesn't snow here very often, whether it's snowing or whether it's 100 degrees on the 4th of July. See, these ingrates will fade away. They'll go back to wherever they came from. You will do your job, and you will do it professionally, with courage, boldly, assisting with arrests, helping people who need help. The crime rate here has dropped in staggering amounts, and the media won't want to admit it because, of course, they'd have to give credit to President Trump, and then they'd have to give credit to the Department of War or to Stephen Miller. But courageous men like President Trump and Stephen, who said enough is enough, are the reason why this city is a safe and beautiful place 250 years into our great republic. And it's incredible Americans like you who ignore the noise and you do your job. And you do it with courage, and you do it with professionalism, and you do it because you love your country.
Fuck out of here. Pete Hegseth. They trying to take responsibility for something that the mayors and the local people are fighting for.
Right.
Trump and his administration has done nothing from DC.
Nothing.
They have done nothing but made it harder for them to be able to fix the problems that they are facing. And then when they're successful, they're going to try to take advantage of it and try to say they the ones that did it. They haven't done shit. Nothing. But make things worse. I can't stand these people, man. They have done nothing to help anyone. They have taken away all economic chances for people to move up, take away SNAP, take away everything, and talk about we the ones that did it. You ain't did shit. Sick of this administration, man.
They want to take credit for everything that someone else has done.
When anybody else protests, they're ingrates. They can't protest. No one else can stand up. Only the Republicans can stand up. And it's insane.
And speak out.
Now let's play this last video before we go and listen to this lady talk about Indians and how much she hates them. This is just just reminds us what we're dealing with the Republican Party.
Indians on temporary work visas are completely changing the face of Texas. Texas life and culture is shrinking. There are Indian stores and shops everywhere you look. Do the Christian and Baptist pastors think that their churches will survive this once all of their members are bullied out of their neighborhoods? These people are coming here and disrespecting us. The hypocrisy of them getting to say they want to preserve their Indian culture while simultaneously destroying ours is outstanding. If you guys think Texans are happy being replaced with India, you guys.
So it's okay for y'all to come over here and set up your Indian markets and your European markets. But the minute that another culture wants to come over here and establish themselves as a family and set up a market that helps people of their community, it's a problem.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to hear Americans talk about people setting up their culture in another country. The Europeans killed all the natives, brought slaves to build the land for they didn't have to work. Bought slaves, enslaved those people for 300-400 years, treated them like shit, slaughtered all the natives to take their land, and then going to say to others, you're going to come here, you're going to have to do what we say.
And
Did
then,
you do what the natives say?
Right. They didn't come here learning how to cook.
Did you learn any native customs when you got here? Did you learn their fucking culture? No, you just slaughtered them and killed them all. But now you want to sit around and talk about other people and they should be in your country that you stole from someone else.
Unseasoned food comes over here and you want us to keep that and talk about that's American
That's all
culture.
these people do, man, is steal and take, man. And then want to sit around and say that it's someone else's fault.
Like we want their beans and toast.
Fuck out of here, man. You stole America. And to sit around and act like only your culture is supposed to survive in a country that was built by someone else, not Americans. The natives built this. Dog, would y'all please stop talking about 100 years ago about the Democrats of the South? The Dixie Democrats created the South. They were the South. They were the KKK. Stop leaving out the Dixie Democrats and the South, you fucking dumbasses. I'm really tired of y'all, man. Y'all are the dumbest people in the fucking world. No one is dumber than a fucking MAGA person. The MAGAs are the dumbest people on this planet. Every week, y'all come in here and say, oh, the KKK was the Democrats.
Paul
you
Moreno
fucking
said
dummies.
He a Native American when his last name is Spanish.
Fuck y'all dumb as fuck. Man, I'm so sick of these people, man. The South was the Democrats. The South are the racists. They have always been. They're still the racists they were back then. The people who fought against slavery, fought for slavery, are still the racists they are then. They are still racist now. They haven't changed. They're still racist. The South will always be racist. And trying to make it seem like, oh, the Democrats. Say everything. The South Democrats. The Dixie Democrats from Dixieland, which is the South. Stop trying to act like, oh, it's Democrats. It's the South, you fucking idiots. Damn, y'all dumb as fuck. Every week y'all come in this stupid ass shit, man. At least 3 of y'all are saying the same shit. This motherfucker, for 2 hours, we've been online.
He
done
said
said that shit like 45 times. He's just gonna keep posting it until somebody finally say something. Fuck y'all dumb as fuck, man. Find some new points. Find something new to say. All y'all do is repeat the same shit that some racist said online. Here y'all come. No, it's not the same party, you fucking dumbass. It's called the Dixie Democrats. The Dixie South. It is not the same, you fucking dumbass. The Dixie Democrats started the KKK, you fucking idiot. You're another dumbass, Queen Lucy. You're dumb as fuck. Who else is dumb as fuck? Paul Moreno, you're dumb as fuck. Who else? Who else want to get your dumb as fuck? Because anybody who's going to sit here and keep repeating the same shit all over and over, it's so fucking dumb. Yeah, we know, dog. We know. You're dumb as fuck too. Dog, Quinn Lucy, what is it facts? How is it facts, you stupid bitch? Tell me how it's facts. Tell me how it's facts, you stupid motherfucker. What is facts about saying, oh, the Democrats, the South, the Dixie Democrats, who are Republicans today, are the ones that pushed Jim Crow, they pushed Civil War. All of those things that we fought about came from the South. The same people who are raising and throwing Confederate flags and talking about how it's their heritage, they're the same people. Lincoln was from Illinois, the place that y'all fucking complain about every single day. Y'all hate Illinois. with a passion. He was not from the South. He was from Illinois, a northern state.
You know, the state that Chicago resides in?
Right, the state y'all hate. Y'all bring up Chicago and Illinois and everything you do. Now you want to try to claim it. Oh, Lincoln was one of ours. Shut the fuck up. Yours come from fucking Louisiana and across the South, because that's what y'all are about. Racism and hate. Stop trying to hide it. Fake asses. Mm-hmm. Fuck you, Queer Lucy. You're a piece of shit. That's what I think about you. You're a piece of shit. A dingleberry. Piece of shit. That's what you are. Your whole existence. Your mom's a piece of shit. Your dad's diarrhea. Fuck you. And on that, we out of here, man. I'm sick of these motherfuckers.
Thanks for watching another episode of Habari Live. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and get updates on news, the podcast, and more. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget to visit www.habarientertainment.com. See you next week. Peace.